All right, your underlying here is the Six of Cups. You are coming into this with the Seven of Pentacles. They are showing the Five of Cups. Where you meet in terms of the relationship, you're showing the Knight of Wands. They are showing the Nine of Cups. What that means later, you are showing the Eight of Swords. They are showing the Knight of Swords. And then coming out here, you have the World, the Moon, and then the Two of Wands. All right. So, first of all, the Six of Cups being the overall. Clearly, I think there is an inability to let go of past disappointment for the other person. But I also think that, you know, in terms of the Six of Cups, we're talking about the past returning, right? So for a lot of you, this is going to be somebody that you have history with, obviously. But I think that a lot of you are looking at like a repeat of what has already happened. But I don't want to put blame on one side or the other, if that makes sense. Now, with them coming in with the Five of Cups, clearly they're disappointed about something that has been lost in terms of the relationship with you. You looking at it with the Seven of Pentacles is saying basically that you're coming into this going, you know, if it's returning, like, is it worth investing into anymore? You know, because if we're talking about the past, with that being the overall here, with the Seven of Pentacles, it's like you're looking at everything that kind of like happened within the relationship and what, you know, has actually manifested in terms of it. Like, is it worth doing again? But you change your mind though, and that's the thing. You moving into the Knight of Wands, I think that first of all, there is, you know, this passion and this drive. And with the Nine of Cups on their side, clearly they still want to have something happen in terms of this relationship. Now, with the Knight of Wands, yeah, that could be you taking the action here, but that could literally be them coming in really quickly and wanting to get things moving. But I do think that there's going to be a part of you that's kind of like changing your mind in terms of whether or not this is worth getting involved with. You know, because very clearly you're looking at it going, well, this, and this happened, but nothing really went anywhere though, because, you know, again, you're at a 7, right? But I think that for them, they're looking at it like they're disappointed that they let it go. That's how I see that. I don't think that you've done anything to bring emotional pain to them because of the way that they progress. So for the Nine of Cups, this is definitely, you know, what you want or what someone wants, right? Besides having wishes fulfilled. When I see that in terms of love, I think of somebody who's like, yeah, you know, I want this. I want to have that. I want to have that fulfillment, you know, but are you being realistic about it? So they may be coming to you really fast here and trying to get the relationship going, but then you move into this place with the Eight of Swords where you just don't see it. There's something that's either blocking you or blocking them, but them showing the Knight of Swords, I have to wonder if that's not you communicating to them that certain things have to be in place here before the relationship can go any further than just, you know, immediate passion and, you know, physical attraction. With the Knight of Wands, it's like, okay, you move really fast, but then it's like, wait a minute, you know, this is kind of how the past is played out before and the relationship didn't go anywhere. So I have to wonder if that's not you communicating to them. But then I also think that they're acting too quickly and not really thinking about, you know, longevity, so to speak, in terms of the relationship. And I say that because of the Knight of Wands, because I don't necessarily feel like that's you, because you wouldn't be moving into the Eight of Swords. You know, unless it's something about them, though, that is blocking the relationship from going anywhere else. So then, you know, you come out here, and this is where all of this is kind of leading up to. With the World, I think that for you, it's one of those things where this chapter is going to be over and done with for you, but, you know, clearly in a good way, right? And I look at that and think that you've kind of made peace with the fact that this relationship isn't going to be anything other than like a quick flash of like passion and want. And that's like basically it. Because you just don't see it going anywhere else. And that's okay. Like, you're okay with it though, right? But you also need this to be over with. You need that kind of closure on this so that it, you know, you can move on and that you know it's over and done with. The Moon being in between the two of you. I don't think that this is about, who sees what as far as the past goes. I think that this is, the confusion on what this person actually wants because of them showing the Two of Wands. Okay, so, I'm looking at it coming all the way down. They're disappointed that nothing actually happened. You're looking at it from a realistic standpoint on whether or not it's worth getting involved in. They clearly want to still have this because it's like emotions are coming back up, right? And a part of those emotions are the fact that nothing, really worked out. But is that their fault? And then you move into this place where it's like, yeah, we want, or more specifically, they want, but you follow through on it though. But as far as if the relationship goes anywhere else, it's not moving anywhere. You know that. I don't necessarily feel like it's you being stuck. I think that it's about this person, because when you look at the Two of Wands, you're talking about the want to act, but then not really following through. And, again, with that Knight of Swords, I think that that's direct communication coming from you, just straight up, honest, blunt, brutal. Look, certain things have to be in place here for this to go beyond what we have already experienced with this relationship. And I think that the Moon is kind of like the confusion in terms of what does this person actually want? Why is it that they're not following through on anything else? That's great and all that, they have the want to act, but the thing is it's not happening, Now, on the other hand, the reason why things may be kind of like at a standstill is because they can't decide between you and another person, which can be the case. Because you're talking about possibly two different courses of action here. And with the Moon, that would suggest that they're confused on what they should do or how they should act. Now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. And I think that if you're looking at it as the Eight of Swords, this may be, one of those conversations that are kind of like going back and forth between you as far as it can go somewhere, but the action lays on them though. So it may be that they don't know what to do if you're saying that this needs to be over, you need some closure. All right, so, and again, kind of going back to this feeling of them not being able to, follow a course of action, possibly having to do with, another situation here. So the first thing that happens is you have the Ace of Swords. I think that for you, you're finally getting clarity on what you need to do to kind of close out the situation with this person, but yet they're still kind of communicating to you. And I feel like with the Page of Wands, this is one of those things where it's like, come with me, follow me. I need you to follow this path. And with the Moon being right in the middle, it's like, well, I don't understand because you're not taking any action, but you want me to continue to, believe what you're telling me and wanting me to do something that you just don't see happening, right? Because you're already coming from this place of, I just don't see how this is going to move forward. And then you have, as far as like wanting the truth rather than don't tell me what I want to hear, just give me the truth. I think that for a lot of you go into this place where, again, you're kind of like looking at this relationship in its totality almost. But I also think that with the Hermit, this is, I don't want to have anything to do with you and the other people that you're involved with, because that is why this is not going anywhere. What do you want? You say that you want this and you act toward it, but nothing actually happens here other than the communication as far as how things are blocked. And it's almost like the same thing that has happened before. And you just don't want anything to do with other people being involved. You don't want to be a third party, and you certainly don't want to be involved with somebody who is, having issues on what to do when it comes to wanting to be involved with you, but then having other people. Now, that may be a problem, though, that they have not, dealt with. Like, they need to get rid of any kind of, emotional attachments from other people and make it clear to them that, what they want is to have a relationship with you so that there is no more confusion, right? But then you come into this place of the Nine of Wands and them showing the Knight of Pentacles. This is why you're wanting to find some closure on this and be done with it once and for all so you can kind of move on. With the Nine of Wands, I look at that as, clearly having been put through enough when it comes to this relationship with this person. But also, protecting yourself, right? And not letting something come back in that's going to be a repeat of what you've already experienced before. And a lot of that is because they're not moving. They're not moving fast enough. They have no problem with, being quick to say something or act, especially acting. But following through is something that, it takes them too long. And whether or not they're making any progress toward the relationship, no, because they don't know. They don't know what course of action they want to take. But I really think that for you, you're in this place of, I can't let this back in. I just need to get to this place of feeling like this chapter is over with the world being there. And then the Four of Wands. I think that a lot of you are starting to realize that the person that you're focused on is not going to give you what you need, and is not going to give you the attention that you need. So, and I look at this though as soon as you realize that this is not who you are, or this is not the relationship that you want to be in, I have to wonder if this isn't a new encounter that you're having coming out of this once you let something go. Because we're talking about it's safe for you to love, right? So you coming into the Six of Pentacles with the Lovers, I think that some of you have been focused on a person here who they clearly cannot make a choice between you and another person, you and other people. It just depends with the Lovers. Unfortunately, the Lovers in this card, it's clear, right? Here's you, I don't understand why you're not choosing me. Well, that's because they're constantly tempted somewhere else. And you are I'm not getting what I want. But I think that you're moving into this place where you're kind of letting it go. The Ten of Pentacles is about self-reflection inside of a relationship. Needing to look at who you are inside this relationship, right? Do you like who you are? Are you liking the reflection of yourself within this? And I think that a lot of you are realizing that, no, I can't keep giving you this attention if you're not going to give it back to me. And I think that that's where the Eight of Pentacles is coming through, because you're talking about somebody that's I'm focused on my life now, and I'm not playing with you anymore. But then you move into the King of Wands. Now, the King of Wands, it could be male, female, another fire sign, or that could just be you being passionate with someone new. But with the Four of Wands, this is fun, right? It's lighthearted. It's okay. This is having a good time with someone. But I almost want to go like this. This is what's leading you to this. It's leading you to someone new, another experience, something that you're having a good time with. Okay, and that is kind of where I feel like it is safe for you to love is kind of coming up, right? It's okay that the connection between you and this person is great, and it's kind of just fun right now, but it's not really serious. But I don't know that a lot of you are comfortable with continuing this relationship, I think, if it's not going to go anywhere, because that's the Eight of Swords, right? Because you're just talking about, I think that a lot of you feel like this person is just interested in, hooking up or lust, right? Because of the Devil in the background here. And that's where the uncomfortable feeling comes in. But as far as the past, this being a separate issue from this, with the Tower, this could be about jealousy involving other people. It could literally have been a cheating scenario with somebody in the past, but you're still focused on them. But with the Ten of Swords, again, I look at this as you wanting to end the situation. It needs to be over with. Now, as far as it being a painful ending, I don't necessarily feel like you're focusing on the pain anymore, because I think for you, you're looking at it going, I can't keep holding on to this person if they're not going to give me what I need, or if they can't be, faithful to me. But it's definitely over with. But like I said, I think that this is, a new encounter with someone in particular here. And what looks really good on the surface, I don't know that you're actually comfortable with it. That or it could be the other person not being comfortable with it, just being, one of these things where it's just fun. But you're being told, though, that it's okay for you to love, right? So it may be one of those things where, it may just seem like it's all fun and games on the surface, but there's something deeper going on. But I think that because of what you've experienced here, it may be hard for you to open up and do that. So let's talk about past life relationship here. I think that when it comes to past life relationships, this is one of those things where we continuously put ourselves on this like karma wheel with other people, right? And every time we get into another physical experience, we end up making these like agreements with these people, like we didn't do it right, we need to do it over again. But the thing is if it's not fucking working, get rid of it. You know, it's time to just like be done with it. So I look at this and I think, look, if you don't want to go through another lifetime with this person and trying to fix these things, you need to do it now. Make peace with it now, be done and over with. Because I have to say that with all the queens showing up here, I have to wonder if, especially if you're female, if you're in a relationship here where you're harboring some hurt emotions with the person that you're dealing with, you're acting like I don't need you, and you may be putting yourself out there for somebody else, but then, you know, you move into this place where it's like you're not really talking about this relationship, but there's the romance that's happening there. So, because, you know, like I always say, the queens for me are all the things that we're kind of like internalizing. The way that you come into this with the high priestess, you're talking about secrets, things that are being kept hidden, but it very specifically has to do with the way that you are thinking and the way that you are feeling about the person that you are with. Okay, because with her, she's so focused on this person and how, you know, they have hurt her. Now, this could be, though, the person that you're dealing with. You know, and you've got fire again, you've got earth, you've got air. It doesn't matter to me whether they're male or female. But I think that if you're the female Sagittarius watching this, you may be in a relationship where you're harboring some issues. Now, and like I said, that could be because of a partner that has hurt you in some way or is not being supportive. But you're talking about somebody who is clearly very upset. But with the high priestess, we're not talking about that, and we're kind of like keeping secrets. When I look at the Queen of Wands, I think of her as being somebody who is putting herself out there, but in some cases, you know, she really shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? It's like she knows that she really shouldn't be getting involved with this, but it may be because you're continuously in this place within this relationship where you feel like, you know, your partner just can't satisfy you with the Queen of Pentacles, right? Because with her, it's, I can satisfy myself. I don't need anybody else to do that for me, right? And it may be that you're just tired of harboring these feelings, but what happens after that, though, and here's where it gets interesting. The Nine of Pentacles is going to be about a little bit of obsession. But when you really look at this card, right, one person clearly wants to keep the connection, but the other person is not really being open about the fact that it is a relationship. Okay, so this could definitely be like a secret relationship that's kind of like going on. Now, for some of you, absolutely, it could be that you found out that your partner was doing that. It just depends on the situation, right? But I'm not seeing anything here that would indicate like all out cheating. But you know, definitely somebody here is putting themselves out there for another person that clearly wants to keep the connection, but it may not really be a relationship. But there is some level of romance there with the Five of Pentacles, right? So what I worry about here is if we're talking about another person that's kind of getting involved with you or you, them, whatever the case may be. When you look at the Page of Pentacles, you're talking about a relationship that kind of goes sour, or there's like the bitterness that's there. I really think that there's a big part of you here that's trying to find the strength to kind of like hang on to this relationship. But there's also this part of you that's going, well, what do I really want from this? You know, so I think that there is a part of you that, you know, makes yourself available to someone else. But I'm not really seeing, like I said, any kind of like cheating scenario, right? I just see you feeling like you're on your own inside this relationship, but that's because there's some kind of pain that's going on, something that, you know, you may have found out about or things that you're keeping to yourself. But clearly here, you're trying to find your own inner strength and continuing to deal with this relationship. Now, the bitterness may be coming from the fact that somebody has been keeping secrets, and there may be another person here who may be a little bit obsessed. You know, it just depends on what your situation is. But, you know, the romance here with the Five of Pentacles, this is what kind of throws me off, because you go from, we have this type of like romantic feelings, but there's this bitterness that's involved with it. And it may be because that somebody else is getting bitter because the relationship isn't going anywhere, because you're not actually cheating. Nobody's actually cheating here. You know, but there's the big thing that I'm getting from this, in terms of, you know, those of you who are in a relationship, karma is being built up around this. Now, if you're the male Sagittarius and you're dealing with a female, there needs to be an attempt here to kind of like get the romance back and deal with whatever bitterness may be there. You know, especially if you notice that your partner is like backing off from you, right?